We are now talking to Yankees, Westwood One, and MLS Next Pro Cup media personality, Drew Casey. Drew, what's up, man?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. Tough act to follow with John. I'll try and add some color along the way.
Well, listen, you don't have to add any color. We all know that your writing does enough of that. But
let me give you a quick story on John Jansen. I actually
absolutely.
used to produce a little bit and edit together some of his Go Blue podcasts with some Michigan stuff and keyword edit. You had to, if it's going out over the air. John probably doesn't even know who I am, but I remember going through some of that stuff in recent years from a production standpoint.
We love him. He's fantastic. He comes on the show, and we always have a lot of fun with him. He loves coming on this show, and it's great because he's on. He goes on so many different shows, and he always, Speedy, when he reaches out to Speedy, he doesn't even question us. He wants to come on the show. He has a ton of fun with us, and we have fun with him. That's a lot of things that we do, and we want. This isn't like the same old interview everybody else has. We we like to bring out personalities and everything that and you bring out your writing, your stories, and everything that you've brought out personality wise. We want to get to know you for who you are, not for anything different. You being on the radio or you writing a story that people don't like. So I think when you put something on paper, it's interesting when you bring it out to light when you're talking to that person that wrote that story. So why don't we get into it? Because the New York Yankees have been the talk of the offseason. It all stems to Aaron Judge and Brian Cashman and obviously the press conference with Aaron Boone and Hal Steinbrenner and Brian Cashman saying that it's not about winning, which it's always been about winning. I don't understand what Brian is saying. But again, this isn't the same George Steinbrenner Yankees. So, I've been saying this for 2 years, Drew. I've said it, and Speedy can vouch for me. I said that if Aaron Judge becomes a free agent, the Yankees don't re-sign him before his free agency, he will be gone. I believe he will leave. He will go to San Francisco. Before anybody brought up San Francisco, that was my pick. Speedy will tell you. I said he will go to San Francisco. That's where he's from. That's where his family is. And he grew up a San Francisco 49er fan. He was a 49ers fan, but a San Francisco
too, right?
Giants fan. And he was a Boston Red Sox fan. And now you hear Boston's interested in coming right in and swooping him away from the Yankees. Are you thinking that that's where Aaron Judge is more unlikely going?
Look, at the beginning of the season, when he was not re-signed, I would have said anyone's best guess. As the season went on, it looked less and less likely. Things happened. But all of the attention and love that he got for that home run chase was just unbelievable, as it should have been, right? So as that's going on, you're thinking, okay, how could he leave? But then at the end of the day, it goes back to the same situation. Wherever he wants to go, he has a lot of relationships, a lot of friendships with a lot of the guys close in the locker room, notably Stanton and some of the other younger guys that he came up with. They're not necessarily young guys anymore, because you get the conversation, well, should Judge get an 8-year or a 9-year deal and from the Yankees? Probably not going to get it from the Yankees. Will he get it from somewhere else? Maybe. The big number and big decision is going to be, where does he want to go? He almost has a blank check and can go just about wherever he wants. And it's so critical. He's the first shoe to drop. And I just wonder, when will he sign? Kind of use the NBA analogy with Kevin Durant last year. What was happening with him? And then NBA free agency got all out of whack. Yeah. Will the same thing happen here? I don't know. I personally think he will sign somewhere. Hope it's the Yankees. Everyone does. I think he'll sign in the next week or two. I don't think he's going to waste. I don't think he's going to waste too much time. I think it'll be pretty quick.
Before I get to my question, I want to say congratulations. I know you just got married as well.
And congratulations, man!
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, 3 weeks ago. It's
how long you've been dating your girl?
Let's see. How long with the pandemic? It's hard to remember all these things. You know what? Actually, you just reminded me, because I just looked at the calendar. November 9th is actually the anniversary of our first date 5 years ago. So I should make sure I tell her that when she gets home from work later.
You definitely better. She'll cut your head off.
There you go. You mentioned it on air. We have proof.
Thank you.
Well,
thank you for the reminder.
I've been with my girl for about 5.5 years, and I don't remember when we first stared dating. So I kind of predict, where
Okay.
Yeah.
You might want to get on that. Maybe like look back at some credit card receipts or something from if they go back that far.
She'll probably cut my throat before that happens.
So my question is about the Aaron Judge contract itself. Like, do you think it's going to be more of a lengthy contract, like an 8-year deal, or do you think maybe he could take less years, maybe like a 5-year deal, and go for something like a $55 million per year and be the highest paid player annual value?
That's a great question. I think it's going to be, again, it kind of depends where you go. Big market, I don't think it's going to be as long a number of years, but it would be a higher annual value. Personally, I think he is going to take a big market deal, because if he goes to, teams that no one's talked about, if he goes to Baltimore or he goes to Texas, I don't know, no one's going to, he's not going to have as much pull. It's kind of the Mike Trout situation in LA. Like, I don't see him going to LA. San Francisco, maybe. Oakland, no. But I would say that I think he's going to sign a somewhere in the middle, 6 to 7 years, 50, 45, 50, somewhere in there. If he can get that, I think he would go for it.
We are talking to Yankees Westwood One and MLS Next Pro Cup media personality Drew Casey. We look at the Yankees right now, and there's a lot of what ifs, coming off this season. What if their bullpen was healthy? What if Gerrit Cole didn't give up so many home runs in the regular season? But he was good in the playoffs. There's nothing to attack Gerrit Cole in the playoffs. He was the only pitcher besides Nestor Cortez. Really, there was a lot of what ifs going into the playoffs, and then the Astros being as hot as they were going into the playoffs, and the talented pitching and everything like that. Do you think that after this season, the Astros winning the World Series, that this is such an important offseason for the Yankees to rebuild, retool this team, either sign players or bring up their young players and build around a core as soon as possible, just like the Astros have done year in and year out for the last 10, 12 years? Do you think that this is an offseason that the Yankees have to think about doing?
I think it is, because you take a look at what's happened over the course of the last 5 years or so, is the team is very, very good. Any other fan base, or most any other fan base, would kill to be almost in the ALCS every year. But at a certain point, almost becomes, in the fan base in New York, everybody knows that it's loud, it's the hardest place to play, et cetera, et cetera. But you look at the numbers this year, frankly, the pitching was fine, fantastic in the playoffs, even, you could say. They pitched like a 3 ERA as a team, and Cole, like you said, Cole and Cortez were solid. Everyone else really was solid too. But the Yankees, amongst anybody who made it out of the first set of wild card series, had the lowest team batting average of anybody. And I know people don't talk about average and all that, but they hit 173 as a team in the playoffs. It's not going to, the fact that they got to the ALCS with that is, with the testament to their pitching, and that they found ways to win really all year long. But something in there needs to find a way. It's a small sample size, but the playoffs are always a small sample size. It comes down to those big moments. You need a mix of youth. You need that veteran leadership to, they've been there, done that. But at a certain point also, where do you go for those players that have been there, done that? This is not the core four where they've year after year after year. And that's a long time ago. And a lot of people think that. So I think it's got to be a mix. I would like to see Benintendi come back. We got bits and pieces of him. It was a couple of weeks only with the injury and late season coming over. I think he could be a good piece for them, especially in left field. Harrison Bader was fantastic in the playoffs. He was by far the best Yankees hitter in the playoffs.
He'll be back next year.
Small sample sizes. So I do want to see guys like Volpe, Peraza, Cabrera get chances. But naturally, they're all shortstops. So that's a good problem to have. They're not all third baseman only, or
don't forget about Dominguez. Don't forget about him.
Is he ready this year? We'll see. That would be the move, I think, maybe to go back to your point. If it was kind of an Astros mentality, I think there'd be more talk of Dominguez. Hey, we're going to see Dominguez in June or May or April if he has a fantastic spring training.
Right.
I don't know. I don't foresee him on the opening day roster. And I think many people don't foresee him at all. next year. But if they want to use homegrown players, which they've done in bits and pieces and they've worked, then we need to see Dominguez in June. Can't see him in August or September. That's not fair to anybody.
So I was going to ask about the other problem they had was major strikeouts. Even though you were talking about the batting average being the biggest thing, strikeouts, not even being able to move the base runners, put the ball in play, another big issue for them, even with their top players. So do you think that's an identity issue? Do you think it's something that maybe teams have figured out with these Yankees hitters? And how do you combat that kind of thing? Because they changed hitting coaches, it still didn't really make a difference. So what do you think should be the approach for either the front office or these players to be able to fix that problem?
Yeah, I mean, you hear the story around baseball, like baseball's at a crossroads with analytics and, the old school way of playing baseball. And the Yankees kind of have a little bit of both of those tenets in their roster, like the whole power hitters, the Rizzos, if he's back, Stanton, Judge, they're going up there, especially when there's, not 2 strikes to try and hit a home run, 40, 50 year or 62 like Judge. I think Anthony Rizzo is the embodiment of the player that the Yankees really need. The little things that with 2 strikes, you see him choking up on the bat that nobody does, and he puts the ball in play. Are there other players on this roster that do that? Not too many when LeMahieu was healthy. But by the same token, there's not that many players in all of baseball that do that. So I think it's partially a baseball as a whole type of situation. And there are still certain clubs and certain players that in contract years trying to, make the big hit in those moments where it just hasn't worked. And I mean, it's as simple as that. And anyone will admit to that when you're playing in a 4-game series, best of 7, which unfortunately was that 4-game ALCS. If you go 0 for 7 with 6 strikeouts, that's all everybody remembers, not your red hot August. And that's been just something they have not been able to get over the hump for. And amongst the fan base, it's frustrating because they go to a game in July and August. Granted, the competition is not the Astros every day, or it's not the Indians, or the Guardians. But it's 12-1. You're hitting 4 home runs. That's not how it works in the playoffs. And the Astros have been able. That's been the biggest difference. I mean, the teams on paper are very even, but in the playoffs, they've been able to perform like they do on paper, and the Yankees have struggled to do so. They haven't gotten that clutch hit, and we've talked about injuries a little bit too, but they don't make excuses, and that's all those are.
Well, Aaron Boone made a couple of excuses.
He did, yes.
But, I mean, first he wants them to open up the top, then he doesn't want them to open up the top, the wind, the this. It's ridiculous.